Well, as I'm rather on the elderly side, yeah, perhaps I could just start with a little bit of history. I think you probably have to go back to the 1930s, when A.J. Eyre and J.L. Austin and Isaiah Berlin and various other people, would include my later colleague Tony Woosley, who was Prize Fellow of All Souls in the late 30s, had a regular discussion group, very interesting one, at which it was said Eyre and Austin seldom agreed about anything. Then the war came. Eyre left, didn't come back after the war. Austin was a professor at Magdalen, and after the war he ran discussion group, Saturday morning discussion group in Magdalen, which was very well known and attracted a great many people like Warnock, who later became Vice-Chancellor and so forth, and that group included Herbert Hart, who after the war had come back to Oxford to teach philosophy and joined that group, and the result of that was partly, I think, that the group took as its topic of discussion some things like what Austin wrote about, excuses and so forth, as something to be discussed over a term, that type of thing. And it was a very well-attended and prestigious group. In before actually, in 1951, Tony Woosley, who was a member of that group, and who was the philosophy don at Queen's College, and I was the law don at Queen's College, we gave the first seminars on law and philosophy. And we thought it would be a good thing for the philosophers to read some legal cases and articles, and the lawyers to read some philosophical writings and all the rest of it. When we did that for 2 years, and Herbert Hart came and gave a paper on at least one occasion, and then in 1952 he was elected to the chair of jurisprudence, and as part of what he was doing there, he started his own group of people to meet who were interested in, if not exactly legal philosophy, at any rate in legal theory. And they met in Magdalen College, in Rupert Cross's rooms in Magdalen College, and that went on for 10, 15 years, something of that sort, and I think it was something that implanted in the minds of quite a lot of lawyers in Oxford that they should think about the theory of their subject, or the theory of the law as a whole, or the theory of some part of the law. They should orient themselves towards theory more than they had done in the past, because there are two ways, as I was just saying recently, there are really two ways of thinking about the law. You can think about it as a chess player, i.e. what are the possible moves and have they been made in the past and with what success and so forth, and therefore is that a move we should make this time? That's one way of looking at it, and a very valuable way of looking at it. And the other way is to ask about reasons. What are we trying to do? What are the reasons for deciding this or that and so forth, which is a more philosophical way. And I think Herbert Hart, among the many other things that he did, they are implanted in the minds of a great many lawyers teaching here, and so had a lot of students teaching here, thinking along those lines. And then his group met in Magdalen, and then when he was succeeded by Ronnie Dawkin had a similar group, which met in my rooms in All Souls, in fact, for many years, 60s, 70s, so forth, and which attracted lots of people. I mean, Amartya Sen, for instance, used to come along, and Philippa Foot, and a wide spectrum of people from partly lawyers, of course, but not entirely. Lawyers, philosophers, politics dons, sociologists, and so forth. And that was a group that spread ideas and encouraged people to read papers and so on. But all those groups were tended to be confined to dons, generally, yes. Not many exceptions to that, I think. But your group is something very new, which goes back 10 years, is it? Yes, 10 years. Is a wonderful development to have created a group which, similar in many ways, which carries on discussions of a theoretical sort about the law or bearing on the law, without necessarily having to rely on dons coming give papers or indeed to discuss or anything of that sort. And so I think that has been, I've only just discussed the historical background to it. I think that has been a very constructive development in Oxford, and I'm happy to say that Tony Woosley in his 90s and I, who gave the first seminars on this, are both still alive. So it's reassuring to think that you don't necessarily disappear from the scene immediately.
Well, thank you, Tony. Yes, not just alive, but giving a philosophical foundation seminar this afternoon and coming to be with us this evening.